I don't necessarily think you're just beating a Fed case like that.
With some serious federal charges hanging over Lil Durk, a lot of people are wondering what he'll do next and what the future looks like for him.
A 80-year sentence plus life, you're not making it.
It looks like Lil Durk might have been thinking ahead, because word is he may have pulled something like an El Chapo move. So how did this happen, and what does it mean for him inside and outside of federal prison? Let's start with where he's being held, the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Los Angeles. This isn't your average prison. It's a high-security federal facility for people awaiting trial or considered high risk. Instead of regular jail cells, MDC has rooms with thick glass windows, kind of like high-security hotel rooms, but you can't leave. Durk has been locked up there since he was brought over from Florida in November 2024. According to reports, he's been coping in a surprising way by turning deeper to his faith. He's spending a lot of time praying and learning Arabic with the help of other inmates who speak it. He's even helped 13 other inmates convert to Islam. That's a big shift for someone who was once known for street life and violent lyrics. His dad, Dante Banks, shared in an interview on April 18th, 2025, that Islam has brought Durk a sense of peace, even though he's facing life in prison or possibly the death penalty. But it hasn't all been smooth. Durk got in trouble for breaking some prison rules, like being part of unauthorized three-way calls. Prosecutors brought that up in his December 2024 hearing to argue that he couldn't be trusted with pretrial release. Even with all this, Durk has stayed in touch with the outside world through monitored calls. His most recent one with DJ Academics on April 28th, 2025 showed he's still hopeful and staying strong.
I've been good, man. Mentally, spiritually. I've been on top of my shit. I'll be back out there, you hear me?
Man, we can't wait, bro. We've been praying for you.
No, thank you. No, I need all the prayers. I appreciate you. I was telling them, I was like, I think
Durk's confidence is surprising, especially considering how serious his situation is. He's facing federal murder for hire charges, which could lead to life in prison. Most people would be overwhelmed with fear and stress, but Durk seems to be using this tough time to grow personally. He's focusing on his faith and staying hopeful about the future. Even though he's in jail, Durk hasn't stopped making music. His 9th studio album, Deep Thoughts, was released on March 28th, 2025, while he was still behind bars. Amazingly, it debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200. The album includes big-name features like future Lil Baby Hung and Jane Ayeko, showing him that not even prison can stop his creative reach. Interestingly, Durk told DJ Academics during a phone call that he hasn't even listened to the full album yet.
but they would keep me updated, but I ain't heard nothing. This is like a box of hell. We don't get no news, no talk, no nothing. If you don't call or somebody send it to you on the computer, it's a wrap.
Placing a $100,000 bounty on Durk's head that led to his fatal shooting in Chicago's Gold Coast area. Throughout this ordeal, Durk's family has remained his strongest public support system. His son, Zayden Banks, issued a heartfelt statement in October 2024, emphasizing Durk's charitable work through Neighborhood Heroes and his role as a dedicated father. In April 2025, his family released another statement claiming the government presented false evidence to indict him, particularly criticizing the use of his rap lyrics against him. The family's defense of Durk reflects a broader cultural debate about criminalizing rap artistry. They argue that lyrics are artistic expression protected by the First Amendment, not confessions of real crimes. This argument will likely feature prominently in Durk's defense strategy as the trial approaches. Despite maintaining a positive public image and continuing to release music, the reality of Durk's situation remains stark. Federal prosecutors have built what they believe is an ironclad case, complete with 230 GB of digital evidence, wiretap recordings, and alleged testimony from multiple informants. The sheer volume of evidence suggests this isn't a typical federal case. It's a comprehensive, take-on operation targeting one of hip-hop's biggest stars. The stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted, Durk faces a minimum sentence of life in prison, with some legal analysts suggesting prosecutors might even seek the death penalty given the nature of the charges. Someone who rose from Chicago's violent streets to Grammy-winning success, this potential fate represents a tragic fall from grace. Yet within the walls of MDC Los Angeles, Durk appears to be finding strength and faith and family. His conversion to Islam has provided him with a community of believers even in prison, while his continued creativity shows that his artistic spirit remains unbroken. Whether this positive mindset can sustain him through a trial that could determine the rest of his life remains to be seen. But how did Durk end up in this involuntary hotel situation in the first place? Durk is accused of putting a $100,000 bounty on FBG Duck's head, which allegedly led to Duck's fatal shooting in Chicago's Gold Coast area. Through all of this, Durk's family has been his biggest support system. In October 2024, his son Zayden Banks made an emotional statement highlighting Durk's charity work with neighborhood heroes and his role as a loving father. Then in April 2025, the family released another statement saying the government used false evidence to charge him especially, calling out the use of his rap lyrics in court. Their defense of Durk is part of a larger debate about how rap music is treated in the legal system. They argue that lyrics are just a form of art protected by the First Amendment, not proof of real crimes. This point will likely play a big role in Durk's defense when his trial begins. Even though Durk keeps a positive image and continues to drop music, the truth is his situation is extremely serious. Federal prosecutors claim they have a rock-solid case, including 230 gigabytes of digital evidence, wiretap recordings, and supposed statements from multiple informants. This isn't just another court case. It looks more like a full-scale federal takedown of one of hip-hop's biggest names, and the consequences are huge. If Durk is convicted, he's facing life in prison at the very least. Some legal experts even think prosecutors might push for the death penalty because of how serious the charges are for someone who came from the tough streets of Chicago and reached Grammy-level success. It would be a heartbreaking fall. Still behind the walls of MDC Los Angeles, Durk seems to be finding strength in his faith and family. He's converted to Islam, which has given him a supportive spiritual community even while in prison, and through it all, he keeps making music, proving that his creative fire hasn't gone out. But the big question remains, how did Durk end up in this so-called involuntary hotel in the first place?
He's locked up. Got the whole mug show. No.
Durk Devontae Banks rose from the tough streets of Chicago's drill scene to become a global superstar working with huge names like Drake, Future, and J. Cole. But while he was topping charts and selling out shows, federal investigators were quietly building what they say is a solid case against one of rap's biggest figures. Things took a wild turn on October 24th, 2024, when U.S. Marshals arrested Durk at Miami International Airport. And it wasn't just a normal arrest, the details were shocking. Authorities say Durk had booked not one, but 3 different escape routes: a private jet to Italy, a commercial flight to Switzerland through New Jersey, and another flight to Dubai through Qatar, all scheduled for the same day. That level of planning instantly raised red flags for the feds, who believed Durk was making a serious attempt to flee the country. So what scared him enough to plan 3 possible escapes? Well, things got even crazier on November 8, 2024, when federal prosecutors officially charged Durk with some of the most serious crimes imaginable: conspiracy to commit murder for hire, using communication tools to carry out murder for hire resulting in death, and using firearms in a violent crime also resulting in death. These charges are tied to what prosecutors claim was a revenge plot against rival rapper Quando Rondo. After the death of King Von in November 2020, the feds allege that Durk orchestrated a plan to get back at those responsible, the court documents read. Like a crime thriller saying Durk put out a hit on Quando, offering money and positions on his label to anyone willing to carry it out. Prosecutors named 5 men they say took on the job: Kevin London Grant, aka Cuz, DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, aka Diddy, Keith Jones, aka Flocka, David Brian Lindsay, aka Brown Eyes, and Asa Houston, aka F Boogie. The group reportedly got the location of Quando Rondo from a close contact and flew to Los Angeles on August 18th, 2022, with Durk allegedly funding the operation. They rented luxury cars, bought ski masks, and armed themselves, including with what the feds describe as a fully automatic machine gun. Then came August 19th, the day the alleged plan was carried out. The group is accused of tailing Quando and his cousin Lil Pab around LA in a Cadillac Escalade. That day ended in a violent ambush at a gas station near the Beverly Center. Witnesses say at least 18 shots were fired in what looked like a planned hit. Lil Pab was killed while Rondo managed to survive. What was supposedly meant to be revenge for King Von's death ended with another tragic loss and kicked off the federal investigation that would eventually bring Durk's empire crashing down. What makes the government's case even stronger is the digital evidence they claim to have gathered. Prosecutors say they tracked a credit card linked to F that was used to pay for flights and hotel rooms for the co-defendants. They also have GPS data showing the getaway vehicle at a sporting goods store where ski masks were bought. On top of that, they say surveillance footage shows the victims being followed before the shooting. The level of detail in the indictment shows that the feds were tracking this alleged plot very closely for a long time. After his arrest, Durk pleaded not guilty to all charges during his arraignment in Los Angeles on November 14, 2024. His defense team, led by high-profile lawyer Drew Findling, went all out to get him released. They offered a bond package that included $3 million in property equity from 2 homes in Georgia, $1 million in cash from Sony Music, 24/7 private security and electronic monitoring, but the judge, Patricia Donahue, wasn't convinced. On December 12, 2024, she denied the request, saying Durk had the resources to flee and had allegedly already planned multiple escape routes, which made him a clear flight risk. Things got even worse for Durk after that. Prosecutors claimed he broke jail rules at the MDC in Los Angeles by making unauthorized 3-way phone calls. These violations didn't just hurt his chances of getting out on bail, they also made him look less trustworthy in the eyes of the court, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get more serious, prosecutors dropped another bombshell. During one of his detention hearings, they revealed that Durk may be connected to another murder-for-hire case, this time involving the January 2022 killing of Stephen Mack. Mack was a 24-year-old alleged leader in the Smashville faction of the Gangster Disciples in Chicago. According to an FBI affidavit unsealed in 2023, Mack was shot and killed after leaving a youth center in Chicago. Investigators pointed to text messages and social media posts suggesting Durk paid for the hit, supposedly in retaliation for the 2021 murder of his brother Dante, OTF D-Thang Banks. Durk hasn't been officially charged in the Mack case yet, but prosecutors are using the affidavit to argue that he's part of a larger pattern of violence, not just the Quando Rondo incident. They even claim he offered money for other hits, including one that allegedly targeted a witness's family member, though they haven't shared many details on that. All of this was brought up during his December 2024 hearing, with prosecutors painting a picture of Durk as a serious threat to the community, someone they believe needs to stay behind bars while he awaits trial. The legal problems don't stop with criminal charges. Durk is also facing multiple civil lawsuits that could seriously hurt his finances and reputation. On February 24, 2025, Andrea Lakeela Robinson, the mother of Sava Robinson, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Durk, his business manager F, and a related company in Cook County Court, Chicago. She claims her son was killed in the 2022 Los Angeles shooting as part of a planned attack led by Durk in a separate lawsuit filed in October. 2024, FBG Duck's mother also sued Durk F, King Von's estate, and several music companies. She alleges that they were behind a violent campaign targeting her son, including putting a $100,000 bounty on his head, which led to his death in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood in August 2020. Even with all of these legal battles, Durk has stayed connected with his fans. His 9th studio album, Deep Thoughts, was released on March 28, 2025, while he was locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, featuring artists like future Lil Baby Hung and Janae Aiko. The album debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200, showing just how strong and loyal his fan base still is. But now things are taking a wild turn, and this leads us into the next part of the story. The streets have been buzzing with rumors about snitching and informants in Durk's inner circle. Street culture cooperating with law enforcement is seen as the ultimate betrayal, breaking the unwritten code that governs trust in communities where people already don't trust the police. And now there are whispers that someone very close to Durk may have been secretly working with the feds, possibly even wearing a wire and gathering evidence for years. If that's true, it could mean someone inside helped bring down Durk's entire operation from within rats in the kitchen. People need to understand just how deep and massive the government's investigation into Lil Durk really is.
Wiretaps, recordings, and all that, like, he was in too deep with it. J. Reed.
According to court documents, prosecutors have collected around 230 gigabytes of digital evidence against Durk and his co-defendants. And no, that's not a typo, 230 gigabytes. This includes audio recordings, surveillance footage, and more than 2,000 pages of documents detailing alleged violent crimes. That huge amount of evidence is part of the reason why Durk's trial, originally set for January 7th, 2025, was pushed back to October 14th, 2025. Both sides agreed that the case is too complex to rush. Now let's get into the real drama, the snitching rumors that have been buzzing online and in the streets. Two names keep coming up in these conversations: Jam and Brick Baby. According to rumors, these two may have given damaging testimony or even recordings to federal agents. If true, the betrayal might have been happening for years, right under everyone's nose. Let's start with Jam, who's at the center of most of these snitching claims. Multiple sources say that Jam, once a trusted member of Durk's inner circle, may have been cooperating with the feds for a long time. What makes this so serious is that Jam could have had access to sensitive info, including private conversations about crimes and money that prosecutors are now using to build their case. Some street sources believe Jam started working with federal agents around March 2023, about a year before Durk's arrest. That timeline lines up with the government's claim that they've been collecting evidence. Vlad TV interview, Brick Baby gave a suspiciously detailed breakdown of the alleged murder-for-hire plot. He criticized the idea of flying shooters from Chicago to Los Angeles, saying it would have made more sense to use local guys. He even called out the hotel stays and ski mask purchases as mistakes that made the group easier to track. What's weird isn't just what he said, it's how much he knew and the specifics he shared. How did Brick Baby know so much about the alleged operation? Was it just his opinion, or was he speaking from inside knowledge? That's why a lot of people are wondering if Brick Baby was also cooperating with the feds. To make things worse, one of the biggest pieces of evidence against Durk might have come from what's called a cell plant, basically someone inside the jail acting as an informant. One of the most damaging parts of the case involves a classic federal tactic, putting an informant in the same jail cell as someone tied to the crime. According to court documents, that's exactly what happened with a guy named AJ, who was locked up for driving a stolen vehicle linked to a murder and later sent to Illinois River Correctional Center. The feds reportedly placed an informant in AJ's cell who secretly recorded their conversation. On those tapes, AJ allegedly described the planning and execution of Stefan Mack's murder, including details about payments and who was involved. Even worse for Durk, AJ reportedly gave up specific info about how Durk helped fund the hit, including how the money was handled and divided up. If these recordings are real and allowed in court, they could give prosecutors the direct evidence they need to link Durk to the murder and prove he financed it. But it doesn't stop there. After AJ's arrest in March 2023, insiders say federals agents used his cooperation to pressure others in Durk's circle to flip as well. And apparently it worked, with the feds allegedly locking in multiple cooperating witnesses who could offer detailed statements about Durk's alleged crimes. What's wild is that Durk may have seen it all coming. According to street sources, he wasn't caught off guard. He supposedly knew Jam had snitched and was already bracing for arrests. In fact, some reports say Durk believed the feds were going to move in during his birthday concert in Chicago, which might explain why he had multiple international flights booked the day he got arrested in Miami. And then there's the wiretap evidence, which could be the most damaging part of all court records. Suggests the feds recorded conversations where Durk talked about payments for hits, allegedly in his own voice. These recordings reportedly include Durk discussing money transfers, logistics, and even instructions to help avoid getting caught in one. Clip prosecutors claim Durk told someone, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with seeking," which sounds like he was trying to avoid leaving a paper trail that could be used as evidence. Federal agents didn't stop at just wiretaps. And jail informants, either prosecutors say they have a mountain of digital evidence, including credit card transactions, GPS tracking data, surveillance footage, all allegedly tying Durk and his crew to their movements before, during, and after the suspected crimes. One of the key pieces, a credit card linked to F, which the feds say paid for flights, hotels, and gear used in one of the murder-for-hire plots. The alleged murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo isn't just backed by street rumors. The feds claim they have a financial paper trail, witness testimony, and wiretap recordings that together form a web of evidence that could be extremely difficult for Durk's defense team to break apart. The legal case is just one part of the story. The impact on the broader hip-hop community is massive. In street culture, even being suspected of cooperating with authorities can ruin your career, or worse, put your life in danger. And for someone like Durk, whose entire brand is built on authenticity and street credibility, being surrounded by alleged informants, even if he's never convicted, can seriously damage his image. And it gets deeper. Authorities know the power of fear and mistrust, and they've used that to their advantage. By leaking info about supposed informants or hinting at snitches, they create paranoia within the crew. People stop trusting each other, and that tension, it often leads to more people flipping, hoping to cut a deal before their associates do. That's psychological warfare, and it's incredibly effective. The street code says snitching is the ultimate betrayal, but when the feds come knocking with RICO charges and life sentences, even the most loyal soldiers start questioning their loyalty. Facing decades behind bars changes people. And in Durk's case, it looks like multiple people from his circle may have turned on him as we step back and look at the bigger picture. One thing becomes clear: this case isn't just about Quando Rondo. It's about a nationwide investigation, a sprawling federal case that paints Lil Durk as the leader of a violent criminal enterprise tied to multiple alleged murders across state lines. And here's the real tragedy: even if some of these snitching claims turn out to be false, the damage may already be done. In the world Durk comes from, trust is everything, and once it's gone, once people think you got set up by your own, those relationships may never recover. Lil Durk's federal nightmare is far from over. This case is shaping up to be one of the most important legal battles in modern hip-hop history, not just because of who's involved, but because of what it represents. It raises tough questions about the line between artistic expression and criminal conspiracy, the role of violence in rap culture, and how far the government will go to break apart these alleged street-connected music empires. So what's next? Will Lil Durk beat the feds and reclaim his spot at the top of the game? Or will he join the long list of rappers who let the streets destroy their careers? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure: this story is far from over. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to click one of the videos on your screen to keep watching and stay locked in with the latest updates from the world of hip-hop.